start here the halachas of Chodesh Elul. I'll start with the Divrei Nehemiah as a short hashlama, if in not Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. And it brings down that in Chodesh Elul, Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai to receive the luchos achronos, the last luchos, and he was there for 40 days. And the Eibishter forgave the Jewish people for the Chet HaEgel. And Moshe Rabbeinu went down at the end of the 40 days, and Yom Kippur, Moshe Rabbeinu went down, and he had the luchos in his hand, and he told the Jewish people that Hashem forgave them. And that day was told to Moshe Rabbeinu, Samachti Kidvarecha. And the Eibishter established this day as a day of forgiveness for all future generations, as it says, Ki b'yom hazeh yechaper, that on this day of Yom Kippur, Hashem will forgive the Jewish people. So therefore, since that whole period of 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, were days of rachamim, days of will and mercy and love that Hashem had for the Jewish people. So therefore, for all generations, it remained the same way, and it's a time it's a time that's prepared to be able to be used out for tshuva and anything that was done wrong during the year. That's why in the famous Rashi Tevis for Elul, Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li, which the first letters are Rashi Tevis Elul, but the last four letters are 4 Yudin, which are connected the 40 days of the from Chodesh Elul until Yom Kippur. He says that's why it's minik hadmoinim, a minik from started years ago to blow on the shofar the whole month of Elul in the morning after davening, in order to awaken people to do tshuva, because the sound of the shofar causes a person's heart to get afraid from the fear of Hashem and the greatness, Hashem's greatness. Like it says, in Mitaka shofar bir v'amlo yechradu, if a shofar will be blown in the city and people won't get scared. Also through the voice of the shofar, the Satan will get mixed up, and he won't say bad against the Jewish people, because he's going to remember the day of when he will get judged and he will be totally obliterated when Mashiach comes, when Hashem will blow the big shofar. Another thing is that the fact through this that we blow in the shofar the whole month, the Satan doesn't know when is Rosh Hashanah, when Rosh Hashanah comes, he doesn't know that he should prosecute the Jewish people, because he doesn't know when is Rosh Hashanah. It brings a smach for the sminig, as it says, Tiku b'achayt shofar, you should blow shofar in the month, which we explain it to mean Chodesh Elul, you should blow it in the beginning of the month, which is Rosh Hashanah. But there's also mashmos in this pasuk, Tiku b'achayt shofar, you should blow the whole month. You should blow shofar, which is the month of Elul. Some places blow also by night after Ma'adir, but we only do it in the morning. Now, when they exactly start blowing the shofar, there's two opinions. Those that start the first day of Rosh Chodesh, because when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the mountain on Chodesh Elul, they blew a shofar in the whole Jewish camp, that everybody should be aware of when Moshe Rabbeinu goes up to the mountain, in order they shouldn't make the same mistake in the calculation that they made the first time Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the mountain. They thought that he came down, he was supposed to come down a day earlier, and therefore they made a mistake and they made the Chet HaEgel. So therefore the last time he went up, they blew the shofar when he went up to the mountain, so that everybody should know when it is, and they shouldn't make do the same mistake. And the Eibishter was elevated through that shofar, like it says, Ol Elokim Yisruah. That's why the Chachamim were Mesaken, they should blow every single year, and that day was the first day of Rosh Chodesh. However, other people say they start from the second day of Rosh Chodesh. At every rate, what we do is, Ke'ena Achrod, Rebbe had a whole Verbrengen, Rosh Chodesh Elul Tovshem and Beis, Rebbe spoke about this. Rebbe says that because there's two opinions what to do, so Minhag Chabad is that on the first day of Rosh Chodesh, we're taking the Islamic. We practice blowing shofar. Says we officially start blowing the second day of Rosh Chodesh, but on the first day we also blow, but we call it just as a practice. You don't blow in shul after davening, but each one blows the Islamic, he blows to practice. And then he goes on and he says that in Erev Rosh Hashanah you don't blow, and also the night before you also don't blow the shofar, for two reasons. One reason is in order to make a differentiation between Tkiyas of a minig and Tkiyas Deiraisa. Says on Rosh Hashanah you're blowing shofar, it's a mitzvah min HaTorah. On the whole month of Elul, it's only a minig. So if you're just going to blow straight, it will look like it's the same obligation. So he stopped for the day in between. Another reason is to mix up the Satan. They should think that Rosh Hashanah already passed, Therefore, you don't. So that's the second reason. The difference would be is whether a person would be able to blow in his house to practice. If the reason is to make a distinction between the days that you're only blowing shofar for a minute and the day that you're blowing shofar as a chiv minat Torah. So as long as in shul you don't blow shofar, it's already making a distinction. If you want to practice in your house, there's no problem. But if the reason is to mix up the satan, so then you shouldn't even practice in your house. But he writes that if you do it the cheder saga, if you do it in a locked room, then he's makel to practice on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Now the Rebbe has a sikha here that when the Rebbe explained this whole thing of that through blowing shofar in the month of Elul, the satan is going to get mixed up. He won't know when is Rosh Hashanah, and also the fact that we blow shofar on Erev Rosh Hashanah, we don't blow shofar on Erev Rosh Hashanah, so the satan should think that Rosh Hashanah already passed. And the Rebbe says, how's it shaykh to fool the satan? And I mean, he doesn't know when Rosh Hashanah is. So the Rebbe says, first the Rebbe explains, just like the Nekuda that's negated this prat of Tkiyah Shofar, the Rebbe says that the first Indian of mixing up the satan is found in the Gemara. The Gemara says that we blow shofar twice on Rosh Hashanah. We blow once before davening. Say it's between Sha'af to Kriyas HaTorah, between Shachris and Musaf, we blow 30 kolos. Then again, during davening, we blow again the shofar. So the Gemara says, why do we do this? Rabbi Yitzchak said, Lama taking a ring shen yeshem, taking a ring shen imdin, in order to mix up the satan. So why? Why is the satan going to get mixed up by doing this? So Rashi says, when you see that the Yidden are mechabev the mitzvahs, they treasure the mitzvahs, and they don't only blow once, they blow twice, so he's going to shut up. He's going to, all his kindness against the Jewish people, are going to be taken away. So similarly, the Rebbe says, you could say that with the benegay, the blowing of shofar during the month of Elul. Why do we blow shofar during Elul? It's in order that people, like we said before, in order to awaken people to do tshuva. So this itself, that people get awakened through tshuva during the Chodesh Elul, so that already mixes up the satan. Because the satan thinks that the Jewish people, through their tshuva in Chodesh Elul, already were meritorious in judgment. They already, have a psak din of ksiva chsima teva l'shena teva musukah. And therefore, what's the gain of him be prosecuting on Rosh Hashanah? He doesn't have anything to say. He feels that the Jewish people that already did Shuvah for a whole month, they've definitely already won the case. And this is also, the Rebbe says, this is also what it means that, what does it mean that you blow the whole month? Like we learned here that he says you blow the whole month of Elul, so like this the Satan won't know when is Rosh Hashanah. So the Rebbe says, it doesn't mean he won't know when is Rosh Hashanah, he won't know what day in the calendar Rosh Hashanah is. But in other words, he doesn't know what is going to be the judgment of Rosh Hashanah. If he does Tshuva and Chodesh Elul, so his judgment already was paskin l'toiv. He already has whatever he needs. The judgment is already over for him. So it's going to come Rosh Hashanah. He knows what Rosh Hashanah is, but he doesn't know what's so special about the din mishpat of Rosh Hashanah. If a Yid already did Tshuva, so he already had his din. He already had, like the Rebbe says, even during the year, if a person does tshuva properly, he could be mishana his din l'toiva. The Rebbe brings a mashal from Chizkiyahu Malach, and so on. So therefore, he doesn't know what is going to be accomplished in Rosh Hashanah. What is there in it for him to make a whole deal about the din of mishpat of Rosh Hashanah if the Yidden already did tshuva in the month of Elul? And then the Rebbe explains that this is also the reason of what we learned, that you don't blow shofar Rosh Chodesh Erev Rosh Hashanah, because then the Satan will think that Yom HaDin already passed. What does this mean? In order to even more confuse the Satan, that he should think that the Jewish people already were Zeicha B'din through the tshuva that came through the blowing shofar in Elul, so we don't blow shofar in Erev Rosh Hashanah. We're showing, like saying that we don't even need to do to the tshuva, to the seidus of tshuva that comes through the tkiyas, because we're sure that the whole month of Elul that we did tshuva through the blowing of the shofar is good enough. So the Satan gets confused because the Satan sees that the Jewish people are so sure that they don't even need to come on to this extra seidus which comes through the blowing of the shofar and not of Rosh Hashanah. So the Rebbe then goes on, and the Rebbe speaks about other things as well, which should need other explanation. But then the Rebbe asks like this. The Rebbe says, Sof kol sof, how could you say they're going to take away a good thing from the Jewish people? In other words, they're going to take away the inyan of blowing shofar and Erev Rosh Hashanah, which could bring a tayalas, only in order to confuse the Satan. Why should the Jewish people lose out? Why because of that should they lose out? So the Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says that a Yid knows that the reason why he's not doing it is in order to mix up the Satan, so brings him to even a deeper tshuva. Why? So the Rebbe says like this. The Seirus tshuva is in an oifen that it comes from the depths of his heart, and the Yid realizes that he's very bitter because he feels he's totally far away from Hashem. So being bitter on the fact that he's far away from Hashem, the Yid feels very strongly that by thinking about the fact that they don't allow him to blow shofar in order to confuse the Satan. That must mean that he must be in such a shape that the Satan, if not for the fact that we're confusing the Satan would have some koach over him. And because of that, they have to take away something which otherwise would be a good Indian for him, in order that the Satan shouldn't have a chance to have a koach over him. So in a certain sense, so it's moirim teshuva. He feels that it could be such a possibility that the Satan should have a koach over him. It's not that they have to take away something which is a davar ratzi, a good thing, only in order to make sure that the Satan shouldn't have a koach over him. It makes him feel very bitter that he must be very far away from the Eibishter. So in a certain sense, this Yisraelus of tshuva that comes from not blowing shofar is even deeper than the Yisraelus tshuva that comes from blowing shofar. The Yisraelus tshuva that comes from blowing shofar comes from something which is outside of him. He's blowing the horn. He hears the sound of the shofar, it awakens him to do tshuva. But the awakening of tshuva that comes through not blowing shofar is because it's coming from the person himself. It's not from something outside of him. It's because he realizes that his situation is in such a state that he needs to have this thing done in order to avoid the Satan having any koach over him. So that's motivated him to think about his situation, and Mela, the Seirus tshuva comes from his own situation. And the Rebbe brings the whole story, the famous story of the Rebbe Rashab. There's once a chassid that went into the Rebbe Rashab, he needed a bracha for a certain thing. The Rebbe Rashab said he can't help him. So the chassid went out and he broke down crying. So the Razah, the Rebbe Rashab's older brother, walked by and he saw the chassid crying. So he asked him what's going on. So he said, what happened? So the Razah went back into the Rebbe Rashab and he said, how's this right that somebody came to ask for your bracha and you tell him you can't help him until he's sitting there crying with great pain. So the Rebbe Rashab put on his gartel and he said that the Yid should come in again, and he gave him a bracha, and the bracha was mukuyim. So the Rebbe asked, what happened over here? If the Rebbe Rashab was able to help him, like we see at the end, he was able to help him, why did he first tell him he can't give him a bracha, and then the guy cried, and then only then did he call him back in? So the Rebbe says the explanation is like this: the Yid at that point, when he first went into the Rebbe Rashab's room, because of his spiritual situation, was not a keli for the big bracha that was needed from the situation. So therefore he couldn't help him. But the answer of the Rebbe Rashab, that he can't help him, that itself was poil it's a brachenkeit, was poil that this Yid felt very bad. And that itself made him like a new Metzias, and therefore he was now a keli to the bracha of the Eibishter that was needed in his situation to help him out, that came from the Rebbe Rashab. So the same thing is, through not blowing shofar, it's not that we're missing in the Seirus tshuva. On the contrary, it's even a deeper Seirus tshuva. The Rebbe says, the Rebbe just finishes off that really, since the fact that you're not blowing shofar is because Torah itself is telling you not to blow shofar, so that's also part of fulfilling what Torah says. Not pshat that you're missing something from Torah, you're missing a good minig. Adra, but this itself could fulfill what Torah says from you in two ways. One by doing it, and one by not doing something, because Torah tells you not to do it. So then, it's also considered what Torah wants. You're also doing what Torah wants. B'sad Ratzon Elin, there's no difference whether it's expressed in that you do blow shofar, that you don't blow shofar. So therefore, when a Yid fulfills the mitzvah, it's not because he has a geschmack in it, but because that's what the Eibishter wants. So it doesn't make a difference to him, even if he seems to him that he's losing something good. But he knows that since this is what Torah says he should do, so that itself, he does it with simcha v'tuv leivav, knowing that it's not pshat, that if it will be his personal cheshbon, so he might want Dafka to blow the shofar, he feels that would help him. But if he knows that what's negate him is to be mekayim the Ratzon Elin. Ratzon Elin is today you shouldn't blow shofar. So he has the same simcha that he had by blowing shofar until now. He has the exact same simcha by being mekayim the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu not to blow shofar in that of Rosh Hashanah. This itself brings a ksiva v'chasima tevel, Shana tevel, Mesukah, Begashmis, Bruchnis. Anyway, that's as far as Benegeya, the blowing of the shofar. Minig Chabad is, unlike other customs, that we blow all 10 koilos on Elul. Some people only blow Tki Shvarim through a Tki, or other minhagim that they blow during Elul. Our minig is that we blow all 10 koilas. The Rebbe gives a bit of the Rebbe on it, that even though the avoid of Elul is more hachonik azaza klolos, it's more a general tshuva. It's not really, it's only gay and pratim, but nevertheless, you want it still connected with all the eser koichas hanefesh. So therefore, you blow 10 koilas, so that the tshuva of Elul should go into the all eser koichas hanefesh. Mendel sent in his daily halacha about blowing shofar at home or whatever. I mean, k'moven is into with a minute, but even if you do it at home, b'yichidus, it's also you should blow the shofar. Then there's the 5 famous Ashitevas of Elul that Rebbe always mentions, Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li, which is usually we connect with Tefillah, because of Tefillah, that the Schapers of the Eibishter, Anila Deidi V'Deidi Li, the connection of the Eibishter and the Yidden is expressed in Tefillah, which that's the whole idea of Tefillah, Lashon HaTeifel, to connect with the Eibishter. Then you have Ina L'Yodei V'Samti Loch, you have the famous Ashitevas of Elul from the Arizal, that from the Arei Mikra, from the cities of refuge, the Eibishter will give you a place to run to. It says, Ina L'Yodei V'Samti Loch is Rashi Tevis Elul, because that's the meaning of Teira. Teira is a Ir Mikla. Teira is a city of refuge that put yourself into Teira. You're safe from anything that the Mekatrik can want to take away from the person. And also another thing that Arizal learns from this pasuk is that by Ir Miklat, he had to run even though it was a shogeg, even though it was done by mistake. So the same thing, Chodesh Elul, the person has to do tshuva even on those avedas that he did by mistake. But b'chlolos, the Rebbe connected with Inin of Teira. Ina L'Yodev, Samdulach, Ir Miklat, Teira, Zivrei Teira Kelton. Words of Teira, the Gemara says, are a city of refuge. Then you have Ishn Reyeyu Matanis Lavyoinim, which speaks about, giving tzedakah, which that's in the avodah of tzedakah. And then the Hakdama to all this is the pasuk Amal Hashem Lekachas Levavcha Ves Levav, Shas Levavcha Ves Levav is Rashi Tevis Elul, which that pasuk speaks about Shuvah. Then there's a 5th Rashi Tevis, which the Rebbe spoke a lot about, that Vayem Rulei Shira LaHashem Vayem Rulei Moir, which is also from the Arizal Kriyatz Chaim, whatever, which is connected with the Shira, the song, which is also includes the Shir Chodesh, the Shir of the Gula, which that's the din of Elul, with the way it's connected with the Gula, with these 5 things. Also, L'David Hashem Meiri is another thing that we say. We say starting our meaning is we say starting the first day of Chodesh Elul. We say it Shachris after Shir Shal Yom and Mincha before Aleinu. We finish saying it as Shani Rabba by Mincha. The reason why we say it in Pashtus is because it speaks about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. David Hashem Meiri is Rosh Hashanah, but Hashem is my light, not Rosh Hashanah. V'yishi is my salvation, Yom Kippur. Kis Pnei B'Sukkah, that He hides me in His Sukkah is a remez for Sukkot. It's also in the other Svarim brought down that there's 13 times Hashem's name is mentioned in this capital, which is connected to Yud Gimel Midas Rachmi. At any rate, the Rebbe just said, and some nuschos they have Shir Shal Yom after Aleinu. So the Rebbe says that if you're davening with such a minyan, you should say don't say it together, say it after Aleinu together with them. Another thing is starting from Rosh Chodesh Elul. Be'etzem, throughout the later years, the Rebbe mentioned it already starts from Chamisha Asar Ba'av. From Chamisha Asar, already the Munkach writes from Chamisha Asar Ba'av. You already, when you write to somebody, speak to somebody, wish them Ksiv V'Chasim Teva, the Shana Teva Musukah. And there's also on dollars. There's the old man Astulin. What was his first name? Zalman Astulin. So he went by the Rebbe. So he told the Rebbe that he heard when he was in Barditchev. He heard from the Ziknei Barditchev that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Barditchev, but also from Chamisha Asar Ba'av, would Vin Shana Ksiv V'Chasim Teva. The Rebbe told him the Munkacher brings that the Munkacher writes about it already. So, but anyway, starting from Rosh Chodesh Elul is Bavadei. That's what we do, and we, as people mentioned today, that most of communication is done through emails or things like that. So you should put it in emails as well. People check that film on mezuzah, so try to be masakin any other thing that is, any other mitzvah that needs to be fixed. Rebbe said to spread this to other people; they should do it as well. Minig Chabad also starting from the second day of Rosh Chodesh Elul, from Aleph Elul we do 3 kapitlach, according to, as Kabbalah ish mipish until the Baal Shem Tov. Shileni 2-3 kapitlach each day. Besides Yom Kippur, which we do 9, we finish off over there the whole Tillim. And if you missed 3 kapitlach, so you make up. Originally in the letter it says that if you miss some kapitlach before, you could make it up. You can't make up more than 3 kapitlach a day. But in Hayom Yom and later, so wherever it is, the Rebbe took out that prat. If you missed, you make it up in the days later. He has here a little bit about the inyanim of slichus over here. Just a few things. Our minig is the first slichus. You have to have at least 4 days of slichus before Rosh Hashanah. One of the reasons is because a korban needs to be checked 4 days before it's checked that it doesn't have a blemish. And on Rosh Hashanah, the Torah says, "Vasisa meila." Usually by Yom Yom Tov, the Torah says, "Vikrafta meila." You should sacrifice a korban oila. By Rosh Hashanah, the Torah says, "Vasisa meila." You should make yourselves a korban oila. So every is like a korban to Hashem, so it needs 4 days of preparation before. So Mamela, we have 4 days of slichas before. So and the kvi is like this year when Rosh Hashanah is on Sunday night. So we start saying slichas. We always have a set date that we start Motzei Shabbos. So we start the Shabbos before, Motzei Shabbos before, and we do it right after Chatzos, because until Chatzos you can't say Slichas. On the other hand, because we say Motzei Menucha, we say that it's Motzei Shabbos, so we say it, at least right after Chatzos at 1 o'clock. The rest of the Slichas we say Bashmeres HaBoker early in the morning, and whatever from this year it's a lot of Slichas. If a person is saying it b'yechidus, so certain things, the shloish esrei midas, vayav Hashem kel racham uchanon. Some people say if you're saying it without a minyan, so you could say it as like you're reading it in the Torah with Torah. But Munstein at least writes, besides the answer from the Rebbe said he never heard of it, whatever it might be. It didn't seem the Rebbe held of it. There's others that say that you don't say mache umaseh, the certain at the end, a certain paragraphs written in Aramaic, so if it's somebody saying it by himself, so they say you shouldn't say it because it's brought down that the Malachim they don't like Lashon Arami, they're not very fond of that Lashon, so if it's only a Yachid davening, they're not going to be ma'aleh the tefillos. But I saw other Niskashos, he writes that some people could be Medaik and the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, that by Yikum Purkan, that it's only doesn't apply to this. I don't know, whatever, I didn't do any research in it, but that's, I guess, depends who you ask. If a person can't stand during the whole slichas, he should at least stand during Kel Malach and the Vayav Hashem Hashem and during Vidui, the Tachnun and Shamnu. That's there. And Kemuvin, you should try to say it as early in the morning as possible. Friday in this, not in the certain slichas it says I'm early in the morning, but anyway, the Cholofen. Different halachas when people waking up early want to say you have to say Birchas HaTorah before, want to say Birchas HaShachar, but I don't think that most of us get up that early for slichas. But the Chazan should make a brach on the talis. I have a lot spoken about that, but anyway. Then the certain halachas are Chazan he's supposed to get. Who's ideal Chazan? You should get for the Yom Neroim. Somebody that's ideally over 30 and married, and that everybody's happy with him, and and so on and so forth. I guess every community, whatever works for them. But at any rate, whatever Yishatz has to do, whatever Yishatz should do, the Rebbe pointed out a number of times that they should learn the piyutim that we say, learn the pirush hamilas of the piyutim. The Rebbe actually told Zayd in Yechidus that he should take the Mata Levi. Today they have ways, you have English thing, but then the famous machzor was Mata Levi that had Sayan Yiddish and Sayan had a beer. The Rebbe told him, you should take the Mata Levi. He said it doesn't mean anything great. Take the Mata Levi and go through the piyutim before he davens. Same thing about Tekeya. He has to learn the halachas of shofar. He has to know how to check if the shofar is kosher, how to blow shofar, and so on and so forth. Erev Rosh Hashanah again is the minig brought on over here. But I mean, Erev Rosh Hashanah everybody goes to the oil to that to be to be mo'irer, that the tzaddikim should am for us b'yom hadin. Yeah, different things here. Some people used to fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah until mincha. I mean, we don't usually do any fasting. We take, that's a famous thing that I brought down many times, that Erev Rosh Hashanah we take a haircut and we bathe ourselves and we put on nice clothes to show that we're b'tuach, we're sure that we'll be zeicha b'din. It says you make sure to take the haircut before Chatzos Hayom. Then another thing we do is Ataras Nedarim on Erev Rosh Hashanah. Ataras Nedarim is, there's a lot to be spoken about, but now the Rebbe writes you should do it before Chatzos. You should at least have an Eidah Shleim. You should have a complete Eidah. Now, if a person actually knows the neder that he made, and he can't. They say it doesn't help for a neder that he knows, that he remembers b'shas ma'isa. And he would have to be materet if a person is going to rely on the t'nai that he makes it, whatever neder I make from now on and on is void. It's not going to help. Only if he, only if he, in certain cases and so on. Some people want to say that for a dvar mitzvah, with the halach is that if a person decided to do it for, he had made achlata that he'll always do it, or did it 3 times without saying bli neder, let's say of God, he could rely on this mesiras meidah. Whatever, if a person made a neder, then he should ask a Rav how he has to do ataras nedarim. If there's a neder that he took upon himself, then he would have to, usually would have to go to the Rav of the city, and the Rav would, have to, Rav could take another 2 people. You have to have a Rav to know how to, the ins and outs of being mated and neder. We do it with the Eidah Shleima, and the Betzim Al Pi Halacha 3 people is enough. So the Rebbe said is to do it with a complete Eidah. Another thing I just wanted to throw in here is that there is a what we mentioned, having slichas 4 days before. So even though obviously it's not the time and place to speak about all the inyanim of the avoid of Elul, there's a very geschmack regime of the Frierdiker Rebbe printed in the beginning of Bekeach Ivrim. This has the whole Maisa there of the Baal Tshuva, of the Mitzel Rebbe, ganze Maisa. So he has there a whole piece, a whole bit of the Rebbe Rashab on what is the difference between Chodesh Elul, Yimei HaSlichos, Rosh Hashanah, and so on. So the Chodesh Elul is the bitter of Machshava Dibur Maisa. Main avoid of Chodesh Elul is more in Levushim Machshava Dibur Maisa. So Slichos is bitter of Midas. In Midas you have there's 4 main, I don't remember exactly which one, but there's 4 main midas that are negeya to be mevada, and that's why you have to have at least 4 days for slichas. Rosh Hashanah is the bitter of Ratzon, and so on. The Yom Kippur is the bitter of Tainuk, whatever it might be. Ratzon is, Rosh Hashanah thinks the bitter may be of Seich, whatever. There's a whole, he goes through all 5 dagas of it, but at any rate, so he's maspid over there, the time of Pichsidus, why I need to have 4 days before, 4 days for slichas. And then there's, the mincha before Erev Rosh Hashanah, there's already the letters of the Frierdiker Rebbe from the mincha from Erev Rosh Hashanah and on. So besides the mincha of Erev Rosh Hashanah itself, one should daven, it's the last mincha of the year, so one should daven with extra special attention, kavan and so on. From that point and onwards until after Rosh Hashanah, you should spend as much time saying Tillim, and so on. So anyway, Zayin Aksiva Chesimu Teva, Shana Teva Musukkah, and next week we'll continue with some more halachas from Rosh Hashanah and so on.